Ever wonder why the world feels like it's closing its doors? For decades, we were told that the total removal of borders was the only path to prosperity. But today, if you look at a politician talking about saving local jobs or a corporation nearshoring its production, you're seeing the resurgence of a centuries-old battle: free trade versus protectionism. Is global integration a roadmap to wealth or a threat to national stability? We're diving deep into the real costs of both sides, not just through the lens of 18th century economics, but through the lens of a 2026 world where a single microchip can dictate a nation's fate. 1. The gospel of efficiency, the case for the open border. In the 18th century, Adam Smith and David Ricardo pioneered the gospel of efficiency. Their theory of comparative advantage was simple: do what you're best at and trade for the rest. For decades, this model won. It drove the rapid growth of post-war Japan, the transformation of China after joining the WTO in 2001, and the collapse of prices for everything from electronics to energy. In this world, the consumer was king. Global supply chains allowed us to access products at a fraction of the cost it would take to build them at home. But in 2026, we're realizing that efficiency has a hidden cost: vulnerability. When a supply chain is optimized only for cost, it lacks the resilience to survive a geopolitical shock or a global pandemic. 2. The fortress mindset: protectionism as survival. While free trade favours the consumer, protectionism is built for the citizen and the worker. It argues that vital industries, steel, textiles, and now semiconductors, cannot be left to the whims of the global market. Historically, the United States, South Korea, and Taiwan didn't become giants through free trade alone. They used high tariffs to nurture infant industries until they were ready to compete. Today, protectionism has evolved from simple taxes on imports into a sophisticated tool for technological sovereignty. Countries are no longer just shielding jobs, they are shielding their future capability to build AI, secure their energy, and maintain their defense without being dependent on strategic rivals. 3. The 2026 shift from decoupling to de-risking. In 2026, the binary choice between open or closed markets has vanished. It has been replaced by the strategy of de-risking. This is a middle ground where governments maintain trade for consumer goods but close ranks around critical infrastructure. We've moved from just-in-time logistics, which valued speed and low cost, to just-in-case logistics, which prioritizes national security and resilience. This shift is creating a new, fragmented globalism, where trade is encouraged within trusted corridors or friendly alliances, while high barriers are erected against nations seen as systemic competitors. 4. Green Tariffs: trade as a moral weapon. One of the most complex shifts in the modern trade landscape is the rise of green tariffs. The European Union's Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, CBAM, represents a new era of ethical protectionism. It's no longer just about protecting domestic profits, it's about forcing global, cleaner production. By charging carbon-heavy imports a premium, trade is being used as a weapon to enforce environmental standards. This creates a fascinating paradox. The same free trade institutions that once fought against tariffs are now considering them essential tools for climate survival. In 2026, a product's price is increasingly determined not by its labour cost, but by its environmental footprint. 5. AI and the new compute war. The most high-stakes trade battle of 2026 isn't over grain or oil, it's over compute. We are witnessing a computational protectionism, where the export of advanced microchips and AI models is strictly regulated. This is a radical departure from the 1990s dream of a borderless internet. Today, data and processing power are treated as national resources, as vital as coal was during the Industrial Revolution. When a nation restricts the trade of high-end GPUs, they aren't just protecting a market, they are attempting to win the race for intellectual and economic dominance in the age of automation. 6. The philosophical border, winners and losers. As we discussed in our analysis of the soul of England, this debate reflects a deeper tension between individualism and the collective. Free trade is the ultimate expression of the individual's right to buy from whoever they choose at the best price. Protectionism is a collective choice to prioritise the community's stability over the individual's savings. The winners of free trade are the urban consumers and high-tech exporters. The losers are often the industrial heartlands whose communities were hollowed out by cheaper foreign labour. The challenge for 2026 is that the political empathy gap makes it incredibly difficult to find a middle ground that satisfies both. 7. Synthesis, pragmatic globalism. The future of trade is neither the global village of the 90s nor the hermit kingdom of the past. It is a state of pragmatic globalism. This means open markets for the non-essential and fortified domestic production for the critical. It requires a new type of leadership that can balance the benefits of global cooperation with the necessity of national resilience. We are moving toward a multipolar trade network where value is measured not just in currency, but in the security, ethics, and sustainability of the supply chain itself. 8. Weaponized interdependence, the topology of power. Beyond simple economics, we must address the most complex reality of 2026. Weaponized interdependence. For decades, globalists argued that trade makes war impossible because nations become too reliant on one another. However, advanced political theory now suggests the opposite. The more connected we are, the more choke points exist. If a single nation controls the global financial messaging system, or the patent for a specific life-saving drug, or the cooling technology for massive AI server farms, they possess a non-kinetic weapon. In this environment, protectionism isn't just about building factories, it is about mapping the topology of power. Nations are now analysing their dependencies not to optimise them, but to ensure they cannot be switched off by a rival. We have moved from David Ricardo's comparative advantage to a comparative leverage. In 2026, the truly sovereign nation is not the one with the most money, but the one with the fewest unmanageable dependencies. Conclusion: the resilient world. The debate between free trade and protectionism is no longer a simple economic choice. It is a question of identity and survival. In our previous work on education evolution, we saw how individual skills are the new status. And in our look at the empathy gap, we explored why these debates feel so personal. As we navigate 2026, the question isn't whether we should trade, but how we trade without losing our soul or our security. The future belongs to the nations that can stay open to the world while remaining resilient enough to stand alone. Here's a thought to leave you with. If your favourite product became 20% more expensive, but was guaranteed to be ethically made and domestically secure, would you still want the free trade discount? Stay informed, stay resilient, and let's build a balanced future together.